What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the stream, and today for you we are going to be recapping our third off season as we kick off season number 4. As you can see, we have gotten a decent amount better. We are now right in the middle of the pack at the 16th overall ranked team. We are top 10 in contact. We've gotten a little bit better in the power department. We still need to do some work there. Pitching is right in the middle of the pack. Defense is concerning me a little bit at 27th, but we can try to work on that there. And then obviously we do have some pretty good speed as we have in the past. So kicking off the offseason, my entire coaching staff was up for contract, and I decided not to renew their contracts. Instead, I went forward and tried to bring in some new guys. I felt like we needed some new blood in here, some new ideas. And I went out there and I gave a large contract to Mark Pryor, the former Cubs legend. He's worked as a pitching coach in the league. He's done a pretty good job. I liked what he had with the +3 contact and the +1K per 9, so that's why I kind of targeted him specifically. And I also kind of want to Mark Pryor. Also brought in Sandy Alomar Jr., who's going to help our plate discipline and our power, so that's going to help shore up some disciplines we have there. And then we brought in Lou Stone as our pitching coach. So good little bumps to our base on balls per 9 is the main one that I was looking for there. And then we brought in a new farm director in Hideki Rodriguez, who's going to help with the plate vision and power of our minor league guys, which is two things that we're going to need a little bit of help with for those guys down there. So recapping the offseason, I want to start by telling you guys that Brady Singer was actually not free agent eligible. I remember there was a little confusion at the end of the last video. I didn't think he was going to be eligible, and he is not, so he was back on arbitration. So we do get one more year to decide if we want to extend him or not. Maybe we'll trade him at the deadline this year if we're not competing. I don't know. It's all just going to depend on how things shook out. So, take you to the roster real fast, and what I want to show you guys is a couple of the targets I was going after in free agency. So, I did talk to you a little bit about Brian Reynolds, and I did go after him because I've had him in every single franchise where I've done a series on YouTube, and he's just been a killer, and I'm like, I got to keep the tradition going. So, I did go after him, and you see his numbers are just freaking insane in this franchise. I keep trying to tell you guys he's a cheat code. If you can get him on your franchise rosters, you got to do it. But anyways, he was playing for the Cardinals, and he was in the free agent market. And so the way I went about and I did this is I looked actually back at the history of the Kansas City Royals and the largest free agent contracts that they've handed out. And I found out that in today's money, the largest free agent contract ever handed out by the Royals was about like $23 million per year. That was to Alex Gordon back in 2016. So because of that, I tried to limit myself between like 24 and like $28 million is where I was trying to max out as a maximum amount of money I could offer somebody. And that's what I did. I gave him $28 million and he just didn't quite like it. So he actually re-upped with the Pirates. So Pirates got some prospects and still got their stud left fielder back. So that's quite nice for them. Similarly, for pitchers, the largest contract that the Royals have ever given out is about $16 million. That was to Ian Kennedy in the same year with Alex Gordon. And so I guess that comes out to about, I was trying to limiting myself to like maybe $16 to $20 million. And that actually kind of held me back as I was trying to acquire the next guy I wanted to talk about. And let's jump over to the Braves. I went after Dylan Cease. I needed a front end rotation starter. And I really like Dylan Cease. He's got really good makeup, throws gas, strikes out a lot of hitters. He's had a great franchise so far. So I really wanted him. I actually offered him probably a better deal than the other people that were going after him did. See, he ended up doing, that's probably about $21 million a year. Actually, probably about 20.5. And I was giving him about $21 million, but he just didn't quite like me because I'm not a contender. So I got kind of phased out of his offers pretty quickly. So let us go back to our roster and I'll show you some of the guys that I did end up signing and we'll talk about that. So the first guy to talk about is Walker Buehler. He was my backup plan to Dylan Cease. And hey, this is a pretty good consolation prize. Walker Buehler is a very good pitcher, good overall. He's overshot his potential a little bit. He's got, I'm going to guess it's probably 89 potential. Yeah, 89 potential. So he's a little bit higher than his current potential is right now, but I'm not worried about that. As you see, he's had a couple of good seasons in this franchise already. So this is going to shore up my rotation, give me a true ace at the front of my rotation, so I really like that. And we signed him for a 5-year, $92.5 million contract to take him through his age 36 season. See, it's just a flat rate of 18.5. I wasn't going to try to play with or front loading it, back loading, or whatever. 18.5 is not too much to pay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Might have actually gotten a little bit of an underpay, I think, because of the way that the game calculates contracts, because he didn't pitch in 2023, because I think he wasn't on the 40-man roster because he actually started the season hurt. It actually made him be like, oh, he's going to be cheaper or something like that. But hey, I'll take it. Everybody else had the same advantage of trying to sign him, so whatever. The other guy, if you notice, was I brought in Cedric Mullins. This was my backup plan for Brian Reynolds. Admittedly, I wish his discipline was a little higher because I'm going to put him in my leadoff spot. But, he does have some pretty high contact numbers, so that's good. Plus, the guys behind him are pretty good, and he runs really well. He plays good defense, so he should shore up our center field. I've been looking for a stable center fielder this entire franchise, and I think Cedric Mullins is going to be able to give me that. I'd like to see his numbers reflect more on his 2021 season. Even 2020 is okay, maybe a little bit more power than the 2020 season, but I want to see his average up in the 270s, 280s, because he's not going to take a lot of walks, so I want him around that on-base percentage of like 320, 330 for me to really be happy. And we gave him a 5-year, $95 million contract, so just a little bit more per year than Walker Buehler at $19 million. So those are the two big free agent signings we made. Some other guys to kind of fill out our roster. We did bring back John Brebbia, as I love to do, apparently, is sign relief pitchers of free agency and then trade them and then bring them back. But he's been so solid. I wanted to bring in another veteran arm to kind of stabilize our bullpen. So I went after Brebbia again because he wasn't too expensive. I gave him a 1-year, $5.4 million contract. So excited to have him back on the roster. We also did pick up Christian Bethancourt as our backup catcher this year. He's got a pretty decent bat. Maybe not great catching skills, but he does offer some positional versatility, so I like having him up there. And there's a guy that I'm going to show you guys in a second that is the reason why Bethancourt's maybe a little bit better of a fit, but we're going to try not to spoil it and go quickly. Hopefully you didn't see that. In left field, we did pick up Nick Gordon. I was looking for a bench bat, somebody can hit righties really well. Also, don't hate that he has positional versatility as well, runs decently as well. So I do like Nick Gordon. He's had a decent franchise. He's somebody who doesn't walk very well, but I love him as kind of a pinch hit guy or a guy who can come in on off days and play multiple different positions as well. So that's pretty good. So that is all the signings we made. Now let's take it back to the catcher position, and I'll show you one of the big moves I made this offseason. I was looking for a defensive catcher who could also hit a little bit, somebody to be more my full-time catcher so I can move MJ Melendez to the DH role. So my initial plan was Will Smith was in the free agent market from the Dodgers, and I thought the Dodgers might try to re-sign him. They had a pretty good offer for him, and I'm like, if they re-sign him, Diego Cartaya is just sitting there with nowhere to play. But they did not re-sign him. They did end up signing Jose Trevino, so apparently they just hate Diego Cartaya. So I almost still went through with the trade, but like Trevino's only on a 2-year contract, and he's already 33 years old, so let's not take Cartaya. It's not that realistic. But it only would have made sense if they really kept Will Smith, which they didn't. So I had to kind of pivot. I was looking for somebody who could be like a full-time catcher for me. And another guy I identified was Drew Romo, and you see his defensive numbers are basically maxed out already. He doesn't hit for a lot of power, but his contact numbers aren't bad. He does need to work on his discipline a little bit. So I wanted to try to get him into the majors right away to be the starting catcher to start the season, but he didn't have a great spring training. So I'm going to let him sit in AAA for maybe a month or two and see what happens from there. Let MJ Melendez do the regular catching duties and then maybe switch over to Drew Roman after some time. So the trade I did with the Rockies is I sent them our first ever draft pick in this franchise, Brian Lucas. So the thing about whenever I do these franchises, I never get too attached to the draft picks I make. I really would prefer the guys I trade for, basically the real prospects. So that's one reason I'm always a little bit more willing to trade guys. Also, Brian Lucas has that 40 hits per 9, which worries me. He could be a little bit like Brady Singer, who gets slapped around too much. So in terms of the guys I have around, I didn't mind trading away Brian Lucas. So he's got 84 potential, already a 71 overall. Obviously, the Rockies, you see, need some help. They don't have a whole lot of young guys with potential. And then the other guy I sent to him was Lisandro Rodriguez. They do need some long-term options at second base. Rodriguez has like 75 potential. He's been a pretty decent hitter for me as well. So a nice little get for them. I felt like this was a relatively even trade specifically because The Rockies have Harry Ford somehow. I don't know why the Mariners did that, but they traded him to the Rockies. And then on top of that, they just signed Omar Narvaez this offseason too. So like Drew Romo's just chilling. Like he's going to be on the AAA roster. He wasn't even on the 40-man roster yet. So, kind of free him. He does have 86 potential, so I'm pretty excited to see him grow and see what he can turn into. And that's pretty much it. The rest of the offseason was just kind of filling out our roster. I kind of like the current state that our roster is in. I think we can be competitive this year. We'll see how competitive. Like I said, my biggest goal whenever I start these franchises is I want to make the playoffs by my fourth year. This is the fourth year. Now, we made them in our second year, but I feel like that was kind of a miracle to happen. So this is the year where I really do want to make it. So I might end up being a little aggressive at the deadline, but at the same time, I'm going to be careful. Like if we're not quite on track, I might try to acquire some guys I want to extend as I'm buying, but I might still trade away somebody like a Brady Singer. So it all depends on how things shake out and whatnot. So taking a look at our lineups, we are going to have Cedric Mullins leading off, followed by Bobby Witt moving into the 2-hole this year because I love how Pasquantino plays, so I put him in a 3-hole. Torres mostly because he hits lefties really well, protecting Pasquantino. Melendez behind him. Drew Waters, who also hits lefties at a decent rate. Gavin Cross. Matt McClain right now is in the DH spot. And Oswald Peraza, who had a very bad spring training. I really need him to catch and fire early this season. Otherwise, I'm going to get really kind of worried about our shortstop position long term. Checking out our rotation, we are going to be rolling with Walker Buehler, Tyler Mahle, and Brady Singer. I'm going to keep DL Hall and Taj Bradley in the 4 and 5 positions. DL Hall has been not good in this franchise. His peripheral numbers aren't bad. I mean, the FIPs aren't bad. So the ERAs need to be better. The component ERAs are not great. The biggest thing for me has been the walks are okay. They're not great, but they're okay. Too many home runs, and oddly enough, too many hits. And I don't know why, because he's got a halfway decent hits per 9. So we're going to give him a shot. I do have some options behind him. He's not going to have a very long leash, so he's going to have to get off to a hot start. Taj Bradley have a little bit longer leash because he's not really been given a chance to really prove himself. He did not have a good year last year, so we'll see what he can do. Hopefully these guys can get off to good starts because if my rotation fills out pretty well, we could be good. Then the bullpen, Angel Zerpa, Hayden Younger, John Brebbia, Josiah Gray, Nick Castrini, Asa Lacy, Perlando Baroa, and Ryan Stanek. So that's basically what I want to talk to you guys about for the Major League roster. To go on to finish this video, what I thought would be kind of fun is to kind of just do a little quick profile on our top 20 prospects. So just going to take you in to show you some of the guys. And I did kind of look through at what some of their potentials were and ratings and everything like that, so I could do a little bit of a short list. So it is no surprise that Jackson Merrill is still our top prospect. He is sitting there with a 91 or 92 potential, I can't remember, but 71 overall, only 22 years old. He doesn't have the prospect symbol anymore, which I don't know why, because he's only had, 90 some odd, 91 plate appearances. So he definitely still qualifies as a prospect, but very excited about this kid. Hopefully he can shore up our shortstop position long term if Peraza does not pan out. Our number 2 prospect actually disagrees with what the game says. The game says our number 2 prospect is Dylan Lesko. I think Tink Hence is our number 2 prospect. For one, he's a little bit better overall. 2, I just like flamethrowers with smoke more. So Tink Hence still at that 88 potential, I believe. Yeah, so he's still at that 88 potential. He is our number 2 prospect. Looking at his makeup there, again, love his smoke. You pitch him with him in one of the episodes last year, like what he brought to the table there. And then here is Dylan Lesko, decent velocity at 93 miles an hour, all across the board. Good makeup from him. Okay. Our number 4 prospect, who is another top 50 prospect in all of baseball, is Drew Romo, sitting there with the 86 potential, already at 73 overall. I do like switching catchers. I don't know what it is. I just like switching catchers. Wish he would hit for a little bit more power, so I'll have to kind of work on training that up. Does need to get his discipline a little bit better, but I'm excited going forward with this kid. After that, we've got Gabriel Gonzalez, who I think is another top 50 prospect. I'll have to double check, but I think I saw him on the list as well. He has 86 potential. We got him from the Mariners in the first season, I believe. Can't remember who he traded. I think, was it Jordan Lyles, was it? No, couldn't have been Jordan Lyles. I'll have to look back at one of the videos and see what we got him for, but he has performed very well, already up to 67 overall. Should possibly see him next year, I believe. So that'd be exciting. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sixth rated prospect is the first round draft pick from last year. That is Douglas Yabu. So we're going to be seeing him in Double A this year. Throw some pretty good smoke, 96 miles an hour. So pretty excited to see him in his pro debut. Seventh ranked prospect is Ben Cood. Still don't know how to say the last name. I should probably look it up. He's got 81 potential. Already 23 years old, so he's going to have to kind of get into the... He's going to have a pretty good season this year. I would like to see him try to break into the majors at some point this year, if not be on the radar to start next year. And then the next prospect, I believe, is number 8. That is... I should have put numbers on this list right here. Let's see, count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, it is Jose Salas. Is our number 8 prospect. So this guy we acquired at the deadline last year. Pretty good hitter, decent defender, has a little bit of speed to him. Love his discipline numbers. He has 79 potential, so I'm excited about him. Just behind him is our number 9 prospect, Reggie Rosales. So he was a draft pick from 2 seasons ago in our second draft. So really good K numbers already, but he's only 56 overall. He does have 85 potential, so he could shoot up the board, but just because he's so far away from the majors right now, we do have him at that 9 slot. Then in our number 10 spot, our last top 10 prospect, we have Juan Silva. Probably Diego Ramos could be over him. There's a little bit of debate I have with myself. I just like the makeup of Juan Silva a little bit more. He's a little bit more all across at the board balanced. They do have equal potentials. Also, Silva's 18 and Ramos is 20, so that's a little bit of an advantage for him. Number 11 is going to be a pitcher who was with us from the start, and that is going to be Frank Mazzucato. He did not have a great first taste of AAA last year, but I'm excited to see what he can do this year. Only 22 years old. Doesn't throw very hard, but he has a nice little makeup. He also has that 78 potential. Going back to the center field, Diego Ramos is sitting at 12. I wish he hit for some more power, but he plays good defense, decent vision and discipline along with those contact numbers, so that's something to like. Then we're going to be dipping over to a couple of our relief pitchers. Nick Nastrini is number 13. He had a pretty decent cup of coffee last year. Hasn't quite graduated out yet with only those 35 innings pitched. Behind him is Hayden Younger. Actually has one less potential as well. You see he struggled a little bit in his MLB debut, but still a guy I'm pretty excited about going forward. He throws some absolute gas. I did use him in one of the videos last year, so I like his overall makeup. 15th ranked prospect is actually one of our international free agent signings that we made after the first season. That is Carlos Jimenez entering his age 19 season. Going to get his first taste of baseball in Double A this year, so I'm excited to see what he can do. At number 16 is right behind him is another international free agent signing, Manuel Duran. Still got to keep working on that vision and that discipline, but I do like some of his all-around traits. Remember, he's a really twitchy athlete, pretty decent defender, good contact numbers. So both of these guys are 76 potential, so we'll see which one of them can ball out more. Coming in at number 17 is actually the third of 4 international free agent prospects, and that is going to be Joaquin Rodriguez, the flame-throwing lefty out of Cuba with that nasty slider. He's going to get his first taste of Double A as well. So all of my international free agent signings are going to be in Double A this year, so we'll see how they play this season. At number 18, we are looking at glider I thought this was Figueroa, and then I looked at it, I was like, oh, there's no double R in there. So Figueroa, I guess is how you'd say that. I can't remember who I traded him for him. I think it was the second trade deadline we got him. He hasn't performed great for us, but he still has 75 potential. 75? No, 76 potential. So we'll see how he can develop. Across the board, a decent bat, not a great fielder. So I really want to see him take that next step this year. He's kind of struggled the last 2 seasons at Double A, but I'm expecting him to he's running out of time to kind of get those growths. So this is a big year for him. At number 19, the final of our international free agent prospects is going to be Antonio Munoz. Remember, he's a really great defender, great receiver behind the plate, good contact, vision, and discipline. Still working on growing that power, although he has done a good job. I really like those power numbers against lefties as well. So he can be intriguing. We'll see how he performs in Double-A. And then finally, one of our draft picks from our second draft is Bobby Brady. Down here at 53 overall, 19 years old, but he does have 75 potential. Very far away from the majors, but definitely a guy to keep an eye on. He's got really good fielding numbers. Bat's still growing, but we'll see what we can get out of him. Hoping to get him enough growth in the next season or so we can try to get him in Double-A so we can start getting some leaps and bounds to that his growth as well. So you'll notice one guy we did not mention is Caden Wallace. He does have, I believe, 86 potential. Only 81 potential. Maybe he had like 80. I think he's dropped a couple potential since we started. I'll have to go back and look. But he did not make the list because he has actually graduated. I didn't realize this, but he barely crossed the threshold last year. The threshold for a prospect is actually 150 plate appearances, and he's at 161, so he's just barely past that. But he would be another guy who would be worth mentioning, probably somewhere... if he were still a prospect, he'd probably be above Ben Cood. So he'd probably be the 7th ranked prospect, but since he's graduated, he's no longer on the list. But anyways, that is all I got for you guys today. I don't know if I'm going to play an opening day. Maybe I will with Walker Buehler since he is the new free agent signing. Maybe I will play with Walker Buehler on opening day. And that will be the next episode. So anyways, in the meantime, between time, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'm gone. Deuces.